Oh yes, a lot of you gon' vex, but I tell you, sometimes you just got to listen. There's a child in every home and every community. They will grow up to be symbols of unity. They'll be colorblind to race and ethnicity. That's the vision of a leader like President Irfan Ali. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. For too long we've been fighting one another. It's race against race, but in the end the country suffer. Oh, we were born here, not in India nor Africa. But if we can't get along, the foreigners gon' eat we suffer. We must put an end to racism. Let it end now with this generation. Together we'll develop this nation. Make Guyana the gem of the Caribbean. Don't listen to them wicked politicians who will divide us to win an election. Believe it or not, Guyanese no smarter than that. Yeah, I told you, it's your boy Padmore. Unity is the key. We are all one and we should be treated as one. Our ancestors were slaves and laborers, but the life they endured made it better for us. We honor their sacrifice and the freedom they bought for we. But some descendants of slaves use that to fuel the rich. It doesn't matter what's your skin color, when we bleed blood it's red the same. Let's respect and love one another. When a brother cry we must feel the pain. We're Portuguese, African and Indian. We're Chinese mixed up, we're Amerindians. We're all Guyanese. Let's end this segregation. I'm appealing to Guyanese in the diaspora. We welcome you home. We've got a lot to offer. It's not the same place that you run away from. Come see the paradise Guyana has now become. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. It's a message I just want you to understand. Stop and think for a minute. Really think for a minute. If we can't fix the present, then we should work on the future. Oh yes, a lot of you gon' vex, but I tell you, sometimes you just got to listen. There's a child in every home and every community. They will grow up to be symbols of unity. They'll be colorblind to race and ethnicity. That's the vision of a leader like President Irfan Ali. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. For too long we've been fighting one another. It's race against race, but in the end the country suffer. Oh, we were born here, not in India nor Africa. But if we can't get along, the foreigners gon' eat we suffer. We must put an end to racism. Let it end now with this generation. Together we'll develop this nation. Make Guyana the gem of the Caribbean. Don't listen to them wicked politicians who will divide us to win an election. Believe it or not, Guyanese no smarter than that. Yeah, I told you, it's your boy Padmore. Unity is the key. We are all one and we should be treated as one. Our ancestors were slaves and laborers, but the life they endured made it better for us. We honor their sacrifice and the freedom they bought for we. But some descendants of slaves use that to fuel the rich. It doesn't matter what's your skin color, when we bleed blood it's red the same. Let's respect and love one another. When a brother cry we must feel the pain. We're Portuguese, African and Indian. We're Chinese mixed up, we're Amerindians. We're all Guyanese. Let's end this segregation. I'm appealing to Guyanese in the diaspora. We welcome you home. We've got a lot to offer. It's not the same place that you run away from. Come see the paradise Guyana has now become. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. It's a message I just want you to understand. Stop and think for a minute. Really think for a minute. If we can't fix the present, then we should work on the future. Oh yes! A lot of you gon' vex, but I tell you, sometimes you just got to listen. There's a child in every home and every community. They will grow up to be symbols of unity. They'll be colorblind to race and ethnicity. That's the vision of a leader like President Irfan Ali. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. For too long we've been fighting one another. It's race against race, but in the end the country suffer. Oh, we were born here, not in India nor Africa. But if we can't get along, the foreigners gon' eat we supper. We must put an end to racism. Let it end now with this generation. Together we'll develop this nation. Make Guyana the gem of the Caribbean. Don't listen to them wicked politicians who will divide us to win an election. Believe it or not, Guyanese no smarter than that. Yeah, I told you, it's your boy Padmore. Unity is the key. We are all one and we should be treated as one. Our ancestors were slaves and laborers, but the life they endured made it better for us. We honor their sacrifice and the freedom they bought for we. But some descendants of slaves use that to fuel the rich. It doesn't matter what's your skin color, when we bleed blood it's red the same. Let's respect and love one another. When a brother cry we must feel the pain. We're Portuguese, African and Indian. We're Chinese mixed up, we're Amerindians. We're all Guyanese. Let's end this segregation. I'm appealing to Guyanese in the diaspora. We welcome you home. We've got a lot to offer. It's not the same place that you run away from. Come see the paradise Guyana has now become. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. It's a message I just want you to understand. Stop and think for a minute. Really think for a minute. If we can't fix the present, then we should work on the future. Sometimes you just got to listen. There's a child in every home and every community. They will grow up to be symbols of unity. They'll be colorblind to race and ethnicity. That's the vision of a leader like President Irfan Ali. I'm talking about the one Guyana, where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana, to grow up in a land united and free, with equality and blessed with prosperity. For too long we've been fighting one another. It's race against race, but in the end the country suffer. Oh, we were born here, not in India nor Africa. But if we can't get along, the foreigners go
eat me supper. That was the voice of Mr. Akeem Padmore Evans, bringing the One Guyana Calypso tribute to you. And I thought that song was very proper for today because it speaks to Guyana's future, the youth of Guyana, and given our guest today, I think it was really fitting to have that as our opening song. So I guess you guys would have seen the advert on Facebook. We have a very special guest with us this morning. She'll be sharing with us how we'll be moving forward in a certain sector here in Guyana, a very important sector, I must add. And although I had the advert up there just now, I want to allow her shadow counterpart, whilst we wait for her to get signed in, minister to get signed in, to give her an introduction. So, check back. Right. So
Manik Chand, she got very Priya Manik Chand to Priya Manik Chand must be able to Priya Manik Chand, asking Priya Manik Chand to know of Priya Manik Chand or
right, guys. So Minister Mancha is having a little trouble with the software to get her signed in. So just give us a few more minutes for Minister to get signed in. But you heard the intro, you know who's going to be here, our minister who is in charge of moving the nation forward, in charge of education and things like that. So a few more minutes, we'll have Minister Manik Chan on to give us an update on where education is heading and the allocations for 2024 as we move forward on this trajectory that the Irfan Ali-led PVPC administration has been taking us on from 2020 when they were elected to take the reins of Guyana once again. So again, Minister Manik Chan will be in with us shortly, and she will be giving us a detailed breakdown of what's been happening and how the ministry will be moving forward. Right. So just taking you through whilst we wait on minister to get signed in, taking you some of the budget, taking you through some of the budgetary allocations for the Ministry of Housing. And as I said, the minister will break this down into more detail, but as I alluded to, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. So 4.9 billion for the continued national school feeding program. There is 8.1 billion for the continued distribution of the Because We Care cash grant and uniform grant to benefit 205,305 students. 1 second, guys. StreamYard, you're letting me down. But whilst we wait on minister to get signed in, we are going to we are going to whilst we wait for minister to get signed in. Morning to Ganesh joining us from Queens. Good morning to Taras O'Brien, Chris Takur Bridgelal, Neil Ramalkan joining us from New York City. He's saying it's freezing over there. Cecil Rampasad, good morning to you. Soma Bipath, Tony Gangadin, morning to you. Lynette Cornelius, Rennie Prasad, Vera Badar, good morning to you. Sherry Ramdai, good morning to you. Ian Gill, Lynette Cornelia, Sherwin Siram, Pam Singh, Veena Ramkaran, Ru Garib, Marisha Sami, good morning and welcome to the program. Thank you for giving me the endorsement there on Facebook. Thank you for doing the video. Who else do we have here? Jasmine Balio joining us. Tracy Martindale joining us all the way from Bartico. Almost sent it to Barbados, Tracy. Nirmala Allen joining us from Barbados. Eunice Raghubir joining us from Toronto. Lola Harry on the live as well. Prasad Pati, Danita Rupnarain, good morning to you. Jonah Bijan joining us from Canada. Data Nandalal, good morning to you. Mukesh Vishnudat, morning. Alonzo Jardine joining us from Canada as well. Jane joining us from St. Martin. Really great to have you here. Shakila Bridgelal, what's happening on Needs Bank there? Vishram Patrick, good morning to you as well. And Derek Drupal, Shaquan Gill. So now, folks, Shaquan told me I couldn't get this interview with Minister Manichan. Shaquan, but he's here. He's here. Let me check back in with the minister to see how things are going. Just give me a second. Right, we have Lance Henry, good morning to you. Sally Jones, Jasmine Baldio, morning to you. Jillian Lewis, Ronald Martindale, Paula Spencer, Rose, Rudolph Khan, Maureen Razio, Dioraj Knott, good morning to you. Leroy Mangal joining us from NYC. Carla Daniels on the live as well. Sanita Sukraj, Porshram Kishore, and VJ, morning to you, morning to you, morning to you. Right, so again, we're having a bit of technical difficulties with our software. So the minister is here, but she's having a little difficulty signing in. So just give me a few more minutes to sort this out and have the Honorable Minister Priya Manichan, Minister of Education, to break down the what's the right word? The allotments for the Ministry of Education for 2024, which was through the budget, which was just read by the minister, senior minister within Office of the President, Minister Ashni Singh, right? So again, we also have 350 million for the bulk licensing arrangement with Coursera to train up to 450,000 persons in a wide range of areas where skill gaps exist. We also have 735 million for the training of 1,000 young persons in relevant aspects of Information and Communication Technology. And I heard the beep there, so Minister Manik Chan is in there. And without further ado, let me have the minister come in here with us. Good morning
Good
to you,
morning.
Minister Manik Chan. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this live program. It's really great to have you here.
Yep. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So, Minister, um, since you've taken up this portfolio many years ago, you've been performing extraordinarily. So much so that when the coalition had an opportunity to manage, they had to give two different ministers an opportunity to probably fill your shoes, and they still couldn't do it. Now, we've had the 2024 budget recently read by Minister Ashley Singh. Um, Before we get into that, could you share, whilst the public may know, could you share some of the accomplishments of the Education Ministry for 2023? And then we'll get into some of the allocations for 2024 and how your ministry plans to improve on what they have been constantly improving on, the education system for the future of this country.
Yes. Good morning, Cordell, and everybody else listening, both here and overseas. Sorry about the little delay. We had trouble getting in. I'm really very pleased about our allocations this morning, in this new 2024 budget. You know, plenty of people forget that when we came into office, we'd come in after a 5-month school closure, which is something that had never happened in the country before. In, we've always had face-to-face education, even when it was on the trees. And in Benabs, it was a person in front of the class delivering that education. And unfortunately for Guyana, when everybody else was preparing for um, COVID closures and what we would do in getting their kids back engaged, we were fighting for the very basic right to have our citizens' votes counted. So in that 5 months that we were closed, we were also in an election conundrum where nothing was happening. So the government of the day who was in the office, they weren't doing anything to look after the children's education. They were just fighting to stay in office, if you recall. And so it was a real mess when we took over. There was nothing to engage children with. There was no online infrastructure. There was no distance education mode. There were no worksheets. And it's very easy for you to forget that because we're not masked and we're socializing and so on. Now we're back in schools. But that took a serious toll. The children who came out of school during COVID were in grade 2. They're currently going to be writing NGSA this year. So they missed grade 2, they missed grade 3. And so it gives you an idea of what we are up against. It's not just we're back in school and everybody's forgotten about it. We now have to make sure that the work and the foundation they missed don't go through with them for the rest of their lives. And that's the struggle. So COVID is still very much with us in the education system as far as its effects go. We're trying very hard to stem those by making sure people don't drop out, making sure we capture or recover from the learning loss and so on. This year, so last year, even as we did all of that, and as we're trying to do that last year, we trained the largest number of teachers this country has ever seen. So usually we've only been able to train about 535 teachers on any given year. Last year it was I think 1,800. And it's not only more trained teachers, but more teachers in the classroom. So what we will have is a teacher and an assistant teacher so that you can, with the children who are not getting a particular concept could get individual attention. In the hinterland, where traditionally we've had only untrained teachers delivering education, it's going to change rapidly. So that was the first thing. Secondly, we started giving breakfast to children in grade 6, and that expanded rapidly. So in addition to juice and biscuit, which we've always been giving to nursery up to grade 2 children, we started giving grade 6 children. Now, you would remember that the AP and UAFC had quashed the Because We Care cash grant, and they said they were going to breakfast the children. Well, that was not real. That didn't happen. Nowhere on the Essequibo coast did children get breakfast. Nowhere from that program. Three schools in Barbies, they got breakfast. Nowhere in Region 10 did they get breakfast on that 5B program. Nowhere on the East Bank did they get breakfast on that 5B program. So we did it for the entire country. There are 43 schools that are off that program, and they're going to be added this year. For example, iTunes is going to be on the program shortly by February. And it's a beautiful program. It's not only giving breakfast, but it's also providing employment to
Ye-
mostly single women who
Yes.
are preparing the fresh breakfast. The
Yes.
breakfast is advised by the Carnegie School of Home Economics. So it's a balanced meal, it's properly prepared, it's tasty, the kids love it.
Yeah.
That's two. All our children have textbooks in their classrooms. And we have been able to provide several more spaces. So we built out extensions at QC, Bishops, St. East Rumvelt, St. Winifred's, and different school, De Willem, different schools across the country, and that's a big deal. I mean, children
Yeah.
actually being able to go into a classroom and sit down. So we did quite a bit last year. I mean, we're not very good with telling you everything that we do, and we should change that because I think people have a right to know. But
Yes.
this year we're looking forward to doing much more. We're looking forward to providing spaces, secondary seats where there were none ever before. We're looking forward to um, making sure we can get all our kids into a classroom and learning at a high level.
Mhm.
So we're looking at better monitoring and evaluation this year of what's happening in the classroom and how teachers are teaching. And there's so many other things, but if you ask me specific questions, I'd be happy to.
Sure. So let's get into some of the allocations for your ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So right here on the slide, 735 million for the training of young persons in relevant aspects of information technology and information communication technology to take uh, up outsource high value ICT based employment and things like that. Now, how important is it to have the future generations or the future generation of Guyana, I should say, um, properly knowledgeable about the ICT sector, given the trajectory Guyana is on, the rapid development that we're seeing in Guyana right now?
So two things. If you look at the scribe, the inscription behind you, it says towards more access, better quality, and lifelong education, because
Right.
that's what we believe in. If you look at the world, well, let's go back a little bit. When I was in high school, a lot of people went to global technology in schools like those to learn computers.
Yeah.
We're no longer there. We're at a place where kids as young as 2 and 3 are navigating devices. So it's you really have to, almost everything these days will be done
Mhm.
or accessible online. So we'd be leaving our people behind if we can't make sure everyone can access and use a computer. So that's at a very basic level, but at a different level, there's so many job opportunities and training opportunities once we can make people ICT um, compliant and
Right.
that they know what's happening. So the lifelong learning we're talking about, the whole world is upskilling. The new thing in the world is not only to get qualified and then be stuck with that qualification. It is about upskilling. It is about changing skills as you go along. It is about changing careers as you go along. So what we see is not only I'd come off only this ICT training, and so this one particularly is aimed at persons being able to access the worldwide um, uh, ICT based jobs, selling
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals, telemedicine,
Mm.
telelaw,
Right.
different jobs like those. So now, right now, if we call Scotiabank because you have a problem on your credit card, you'll hear a Jamaican accent because they're
Wow.
outsourced to Jamaica. Exactly.
Mm.
Sometimes when you call, say, a store like J. Crew, which is a clothing kind of store, um, you'll get an accent from the Philippines because it's someone in the
Okay.
Philippines taking that call
Mm.
and dealing with a purchase made from Guyana in the US. So it's a very connected world, and we have to connect
Yes.
our people and give them that opportunity. Now, there's also the goal. scholarship program, which you may have heard about. It has an allocation of $4 billion. There's also Coursera, and there's the University of Guyana. I see people trying, mostly the opposition, trying to say to persons that there's some kind of uh, well, first of all, discouraging people from accessing these programs, which is really quite a sin. So outside of that, just being politically stupid and opportunistic, it is a
Mm.
sin. Everyone who can expose people to opportunities in education should never ever do anything else but just that.
Yeah.
We should be pushing our young people, and if you love the people you say you support, you should be pushing them towards education, because it's really the only guaranteed equalizer, guaranteed passport out of poverty or out of dire circumstances. It is the only sure way. I mean, every now and then somebody could win the lotto, but it's the only sure way towards an independent life.
Yeah.
And you can't be a political leader and not want that for the people you want to lead.
Yeah.
So I'm very surprised. I just think it's a very politically stupid thing. But I do understand it. The whole intention is if people can't get access to these things, then they could say, oh, ethnically, the PPP is discriminating, or politically, the
Exactly.
PPP is discriminating, or geographically. And that's not what's happening. So these programs are aimed at allowing people to upskill, reskill, or get trained ab initio. I mean, as an original training.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have all kinds of pathways. There's the University of Guyana. There are the TVET institutions like GTI and Lenora Technical Institute and so on. There's
Right.
Goal, which is exclusively online. There's Coursera, which are shorter courses. Um, and there is, so let's take Coursera, for instance. When I came into office in August of 2020, I found a bunch of letters where the Commonwealth of Learning was begging the government of Guyana, at that time it would have been the PNC, the
Right.
PNC's APNU AFC, to jump on board with the Commonwealth of Learning to offer Coursera to Guyanese citizens. Of course, that wasn't done. There were also indications that letter had gone to the Public Service Ministry, and that was all ignored. We said, we're closed, people are home, let's see, let's offer
Yes.
this for whoever wants to do it. And Cordell, we launched that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 5 o'clock, we had 30 something thousand hits. Um, and we became the country, Guyana became the country in the world with the highest number of registrants and the highest number of
Wow.
graduates holding certificates. What does
Wow.
that tell you? It tells you that our people have an appetite for this. It tells you that our people wanted it. We didn't force anybody. We didn't take it into their homes. This is people did this themselves, by themselves, for themselves, with a platform we had provided. That is leadership. That is providing opportunities for people. So this here is for us to buy bulk licenses to train up to 450,000 persons.
Wow.
I see the opposition saying this is not a uh, or this might not be the course. Why are you thinking you could decide for people what people must do? People want to do it, they will do it. The funny thing is, I remember when we first threw out Coursera, Amanza Desir said, oh, I did it and it's easy. I don't know why she's making a big deal of it. And I'm going to go search for that post. In fact, I have a screenshot of it because
Uh-huh.
she did it, but she wants people not to do it. Right? And we are paying for this so that people wouldn't have to pay for the specifically designed courses. So what Coursera can do for us also, which is part of the conversation we're having, is design courses. So if you take the combination, this four or these three or these seven, that you'll be
Hmm.
proficient in a particular area.
Right.
So there are very many ways around it. Now, some people don't like Coursera, and that's fine. Some people don't want a short certificate. They want something better. So they go to Goal.
Right.
Goal offers degree programs, diploma programs, masters, PhDs. Again, exclusively online. For the people who say, well, this is an online program,
Mhm.
most of the world is going online. And the fact that we have 21,000 persons on the program of their own volition and people waiting to get on the program will again speak to what the people of Guyana want. And any responsible government must be responsive to that need, must be responsive to furnishing that opportunity to people. And that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
right? And
Minister, go
if
ahead.
you don't want to go to Coursera, you don't want to go to you don't want to get educated on the gold platform, then we have the University of Guyana,
Yeah.
again conceived of by the PPP Cde Jagan. This is a treasured place for us. It's precious to us. It's funded by us and students fees, and we've said that students fees are going to stop, and we're going to find pathways to pay off the debt from next, within the first 5 years, which would leave us this and next year.
Mhm.
And so there are very many different pathways and opportunities. And what we hope is that young people and not so young people will find an opportunity in some one of these pathways to get themselves either trained, retrained, skilled, or upskilled.
Yeah. Minister, I'm so glad that you spoke on Coursera and Gold, and you brought up the fact that some opposition persons try to make this look like it's nothing, when all they offered to Guyanese was the Bertram College of Warriors, not internationally recognized. You can't take that certificate anywhere. But now, and also they raised the fees at UG. Now they're touting free UG education and things like that, which I think is highly hypocritical. Now let's move over to this slide here. Minister had a call. So this slide
No,
here,
go
we're
ahead.
looking at 28.7 billion for the construction, rehabilitation, and maintenance of school buildings and educational facilities. Talk to us a little bit about this.
So, when we came into office in 2020, the AP and UAFC had built not one single school, secondary school, that is. So there was
Mhm.
no school that was started and completed under them, which means the children simply didn't have anywhere to sit. Last year, we opened the Yarrow Cabra Secondary School on the East Highway, and we
Yeah,
opened the Good Hope Secondary School on the East Coast, and we opened the De Willem Secondary School in Region 3. Even
right.
as we speak right now, children are sitting in auditoriums on the stairways, um, in primary tops right here in the coastland. They're going to in Diamond there, they have people in kids in primary tops.
Mhm.
In Region 7, 8, 9, there are not enough spaces for people, so for children. So we are currently constructing in Region 1, um, Hosororo Secondary, Quibana Secondary, Northwest Secondary. In
Mhm.
Region 2, we finished. Oh, in Region 2, we finished last year the Abram Zool Secondary. In Region 3, we're constructing Tushin Secondary um and the this year we'll begin at Reed and Hoop and Neems. In Region 4, we're going to begin at Prospect Secondary, a huge
Right.
state-of-the-art school. In Region 6, it will be at Oriala. In Region 7, Jawala. In Region 8, Kopinang. In Region 9, we're currently constructing at Karasabay. And in Region 10, we're going to be building a brand new secondary school at Christianburg, state-of-the-art again. So those are large, large projects. In addition to those, we'll be building 6 brand new primary schools. One at Tapachinga in Region 9, at Rec
Mhm.
Dorsey in Region 3. So large, large, large primary schools also to be able to take off our populations. You see, when you
Right.
give out thousands of house lots and brand new communities start
Mhm.
up, you have to provide different types of schooling and different
Indeed.
additional schooling. So this is, it's not only the roads and bridges, it's how do we make sure when we give these house lots, these kids could walk to school? How do we make sure when they're finished primary school, they can go to a secondary school and receive a solid education? It's a massive, massive program. Um, we have challenges. I would be the first to tell you that. So I'm highly amused at somebody posting that a stair is broken or a window is broken. I could post all of those because it is true. We have
Mhm.
200,000 children. It's very, very trafficked area. Um, we have 13,000 teachers. We have 1,016 facilities, actual facilities. Every single day, there's going to be something. I mean, when you have any program peopled by so many, we'll have delinquents amongst it. There's going to be a head teacher that tells a teacher something unkind. That's not the ministry, that's not the government. There's going to be a head teacher that assigns a teacher to teach something she doesn't know to teach. That can't be the ministry, that's not the
Yeah,
government. If we know about it, we'll deal with it.
yeah,
And so that's our effort. The um the whole program here is massive, not only for the Ministry of Education, but for the country. And we have to bring people along. I am personally in a quandary with trying to get contractors to move away from the culture of taking twice as long to do anything and
yeah,
coming back in for variations in prices. And people think, and I say to these same contractors, first of all, we didn't bring you here. You bid publicly
right,
to
right,
say you could do this at this price in this time. So you have to do it. And then you can't tell me when I gave you the contract and we signed it that I loved you then, but now that I'm insisting on a finished program in
yeah,
accordance with the contract you signed, that some or the other I don't like you. I mean, we have to all bring ourselves up to a place where we can provide service for children. And so we still have some of those challenges. But I hope that our education system is going to educate enough children to make them understand that it's a new Guyana, new country. And so in 10 years, we won't have some of these challenges because it's these same kids who are in high school now that will come out at age 25 and be trying to provide some of the services that we're struggling with right now. It's a big
right,
job.
right. No, Minister, um, I had an interview with an opposition MP a few weeks ago, and she declared that the Because We Care grant, where it was before Minister Singh made his announcement, was not enough. Yet that MP's government at the time took away $10,000 from the youths. Talk to us a little bit about the Because We Care and the uniform grant. And um, I know the government's idea is to assist parents, single parents, whichever parents, private, public. But speak to this initiative of the government and how um, it is the purpose is to ensure or and assist parents in ensuring that their children go to school every day and be a part of the school system.
So it's a vacuous claim. It's stupid. It's silly. And first of all, we're offering to each child in public and private school $4,000 to $5,000 to get outfitted and prepared for school.
Mhm.
There are many things you could say, but you can't tell a parent in Guyana that that's not enough to get their children ready for school. It can buy
Right,
uniforms. It can buy book bags. We don't have to provide. They don't have to buy textbooks and exercise books anymore because we're buying those. We're giving those. It can provide for children to get to school. We're all living right here. So it's a stupid
right,
and vacuous claim to say it's not enough. Um, could you say we'll give more or we should give more? You could make those claims, but to say that it's not enough and so on is idiotic. The other thing that is really great about this program is every single child benefits. So if you remember, go back to the archives of the first year, they told people, oh, we'll only give PPP supporters, we'll only give Indian people, we'll only give certain areas. Every single child, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of how their parents voted, where they live, what religion they are,
right,
every single child gets this grant. Once they're in school, they're on the register and they're attending school. We've had the audit office audit this live from the packing of the money to the distribution of the money. We've had absolutely no claims about fraud. We had
right,
one or two teachers that tried to do a little bit of wickedness, and we put them in the hands of the police. They were charged by the police. So there's no scope on this thing. You either, if you're not in school, you can't get the grant. Um, this grant is to assist parents. Now, in addition to the Because We Care cash grant and the school uniform grant, uh, we are giving each child all the textbooks they need. That's about a package of 17 to $25,000, depending on which level you're at. In the high school, the textbooks can go up to $6 to $7,000 that they need. We
Right.
are giving that, so parents no longer need to buy that. We are giving exercise books that are sturdy, which are much sturdier than the Burnham kind of books that we used to get. Everybody called it that. Sorry for that reference. Um, we are giving breakfast to grade 6 children. We're giving nutritious fortified biscuits and juice to nursery and grades 1 and 2 children. We're giving packages to the smaller kids. So technically, we are leaving not only we're not only giving $4 to $5,000 to parents in cash, we're leaving more than $50,000 in people's pockets that they
Mm,
ordinarily would have had to spend on
right.
each child. And so it's a huge help. And that's why the AP and UAFC doesn't get any traction with that.
Yeah,
Because parents know, they know what they're getting, they
exactly.
know how much of a help it is, and they know that when they come to that desk, nobody looks up and says, let me see what's your hair texture, let me see what color you are, let me see how you spray Sunday morning, let me see
Right,
where you
right.
live.
Yeah,
Once you come to that desk to receive it and your child is on the register, you get it. And they know that was a promise I made, and that is a promise we have kept.
right. Minister, we have a question from one of our viewers, Ms. Jillian Lewis. She's trying to find out the type of measures the ministry is or would probably not put in place against school violence and what actions are taken or will be taken against the aggressors. Could
Right.
you respond
So,
to that,
Jillian,
please?
it's a very good question and something we're struggling with. We have, on the one hand, a duty to make sure we educate all our children, and then we have to make sure we protect all our children. So, what do
Mm,
we do with a child who is ultra violent? What do we do with a child who is repeatedly committing acts of violence, whose parents, by the way, so that is something we have to talk about, whose parents are not turning up, whose parents are not um, helping us, right? We have
right.
decided that we can't, in walking the very fine line of trying to uh, educate each child, we can't let any single child disrupt an entire school, harm other children, hurt them, bully them, emotionally and or physically scar them. A full investigation or inquiry is usually taken. Um, and we may have to suspend and expel in those circumstances. We're trying very hard to make sure we have sessions, pastoral type care sessions with all the students, so we explain to them what's happening. And the
Mhm.
country will have to have a relook at our juvenile offenders bill. So the APNU passed legislation that essentially disallows us from having what used to be the boys school and girls school, and it was not replaced with anything. So I understand the trajectory of wanting to get to that place. But what do we now do when you have a child who hits another one in his head and causes him to have fractures of his skull? And then the next week, that same offending child, hits another one in his arm and breaks it. What do we do with that child? I can't keep you in the school, but I would still like the child educated. Where we had the New Opportunity Corps, we could have sent them there as pursuant to a court order, of course,
Mhm.
send them there. They would have gotten an education in a little bit of more disciplined environment. And so
Right,
the child comes out as a more wholesome, productive adult. At this
right,
point, all we could do is expel without any options for further education. And that is not the most desirable place to be. So the country has to look back at how we're going to deal with what is clearly a problem. You know, it's not a problem here in Guyana alone. This is something most countries around the world face, and we also have to have a look at in within our homes.
right.
What are we saying to our children? How are we? You know, I went to a school on the mock exam day, and it's 8:59, and I actually looked at my time, and you have a whole set of empty benches, and
Wow.
these kids are late. That's not the ministry's fault.
Right.
That's not the politicians' fault. What are you doing? And it can't be because those kids are being offered breakfast. So it can't be I didn't have anything this morning. I had to run to the market and buy something.
Right.
All you have to do is get up and make sure they put on their clothes, comb their hair, and send them to school.
Yeah.
What is the home's duty and responsibility and role in building out a Guyana where all our children have opportunities and access to education? So there has to be a careful examination of that also. And responsible political leaders will get into communities where people listen to them and
Mhm.
tell them some of
Right.
these issues. It can't just be what we're doing wrong or what we're not doing wrong. Where is your responsibility? Where does it end? And how well are you fulfilling that duty? The APNU, have you gone into communities you claim are yours to say to people, get your kids out to the school? How
Yeah.
have you been doing that? Or is it just a bellowing on TV about what you think is wrong or right? So political leaders also should take some responsibility in helping people they say are their followers um, do what they have to do. Thankfully, we don't in the Ministry of Education discriminate or determine that this is a particular community or that is. We will try to get that message to every single home, regardless of how they vote.
Mhm.
And that's one of the efforts we're doing. We're also trying to build out a comprehensive plan about how schools should deal with any kinds of bullyism and violence that they're experiencing. And again, like I said, it's a very complex issue because of walking this tightrope of trying to make sure that we treat all children like children,
Right.
even the children who are deemed to be the offenders.
Yeah. Thank you for responding to that. Minister, another question here. There have been allegations that a number of the universities and institutions being used to further education are not properly accredited or capable to deliver good education. It was reported that students have found challenges in even understanding some of the lecturers. Could you please respond to these claims?
Well, I'm assuming this person, Shaquan, hasn't been clear. I'm assuming he is. So there's the University of Guyana, which the government has responsibility for.
I think he's
And
talking about
while
the gold, the gold. I've
okay,
seen it
so
online,
no,
the
so
gold
let me
program.
address both. One,
Yeah.
there's the University of Guyana, and then there are private universities here. People have to make their own choices. There I won't name them, but various private universities that have foreign lecturers,
Right.
and people are going to those. That's your choice. On the goal program, the fact that 21,000 people have gone on, the fact that several have graduated already,
Mhm.
450 have received their masters, 1,400 last year were finished the equivalent to high school program. So the kids who dropped out or couldn't finish high school, we had a program running for them so that they can do their GED or the SCQF, which is the equivalent to the GED, which would
Right.
allow them to get into universities and colleges. 80 something percent of those are in colleges. When you go to a university in the US or in England or in India or in Scotland or in Africa, you'll find lecturers there with accents, right there with accents.
Yes.
Some of them will be so you could go to a university of the university, Cambridge or Oxford, and you'll find a lecturer right there with deep British accent, but you'll also find a lecturer right there with an African accent and an Indian accent. So, I went to law school in Trinidad, and every single lecturer there had an accent. None were Guyanese. And
Mhm.
sometimes the accent was so deep you'd have to pay a little bit more attention. But if you want to go to a foreign school, there are going to be people with accents. Is it so bad that people can't understand them? I think there may be sensitivities around that kind of thing, but I'm saying to you that so many people um, graduated already.
Yeah. Right.
uh, is it really, really a problem, or are you listening to people and thinking it's a problem? No, there's no accreditation. If you go to the university, if you go to the Indira Gandhi University or the Jane University or Robert Gordon in England on the GOAL program. So I just want to explain that. GOAL is a medium Goal is not a university. Goal is the people who helping you to apply, collecting your documents, sending it to the university. So let's take the Robert Gordon University in the United Kingdom. You want to go and do a degree or a master's program in oil and gas or petroleum engineering. The people have eligibility criteria. They say you have to have a degree, you got to be 20 to 40 years old, you have to have these particular subjects. Goal would make sure you have all of that and then forward you to Gordon, Robert Gordon. But it is Robert Gordon who will now issue for do your lectures,
Right.
your testing, your
Right.
evaluations, your papers, and then your certificate. So you will be a graduate of the Robert Gordon University, not of Goal. All Goal does is make sure you can have the access quickly and easily, and Goal makes sure that it's paid for by the government of Guyana
Right.
for the student. So you're a graduate of Robert Gordon. I've never seen somebody graduating from Robert Gordon or Indira Gandhi or Jane having problems with using their degree or masters or PhDs. That is a fiction of the APNU's imagination. But here's the joke about that. The APNU members and family members are accessing these same
They take
scholarships.
any
And there's
courses.
nothing wrong with that. They're Guyanese too. We can help them and all. But they're telling people, and that is the hypocrisy and dishonesty. Even as they themselves are accessing these courses, getting the people of this country to pay for their courses, because it's the people that are paying for this through the government. They're
Right.
telling people, well, you don't go and do it because you can't understand the people and some of these things aren't accredited and all kinds of foolishness. Don't let people dissuade you from that. If you have a degree anywhere in the world and you go to work, the degree is recognized
Indeed.
by I don't know that anybody has ever come to the Ministry of Education to say I want a job here. I have a degree from Scotland, and we say, well, it has to be accredited, or anywhere else in the government. So that's a I don't even know where that is coming from. Um, all the teachers, all the teachers on the goal program, all the teachers who did degrees, PhDs, masters, or even certificate courses. They're all being recognized by the government of Guyana, the Ministry of Education, and being given whatever upgrades they would have been given as though they went to the University of Guyana.
Right.
Um, it's a non-issue, Shaquan. I would be happy to take you forward, especially if you're interested and you were a little dissuaded by that kind of conversation. I'll have Cordell give you my number and take you through that. But I would
Right.
encourage you to access one of these programs.
Right. No, Minister, Guyana has been dealing with a lot of infrastructural improvements. We see the gas to shore project coming online. We see a lot of construction happening. Now, the ministry, they have been investing in technical vocational interventions. Could you speak to this and how this will bolster the workforce here and allow us to continue on that trajectory that we're on?
So TVET is, their entire conversations around the world about the value of an academic degree versus the value of a skill. And a lot of people are leaning towards skills being far more marketable, useful, lucrative, really. And there is a conversation that academic degrees are no longer useful. I'm not an advocate of that. I still think they're
Right,
useful, and I still think people should get them.
right,
But in the economy that we are building out now, we see it all the time. If I could upskill, it would be to be a mason and then charge 12 grand a day to do my tiling. So we are trying to make sure that all across the country. So right now, we have TVET institutions in regions 2, 3, 5, 6, and 10. But we're presently, I hope I can be able to open in regions 1, 7, 9, Hope Tongue, in region 5. I think
right,
6 region, did I say region 9? So 6 region 3 at Fellowship. more TVET PIC institutions that we partnered with the CDB to build.
Mhm.
And that's to be able to give more persons the opportunity to 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 get skilled and training in things that will make them marketable and lucrative. So I can tell you where they are. They are in Fellowship, BV, Hopetown, uh, Region 1 at Northwest, Mabaruma, Region 9 at St. Ignatius, and Region 7 in Bartica. We're also doing a different pathway. So some children like to do the high academic qualifications in high school, and that's fine. That's great. But there are also some children who say, I don't see this being useful for me. I like to work with my hands. I like to do these things. So we have introduced the CVQs, which
Mhm.
allow you at CVQ1, you're already almost at a level of being able to access a technical vocational institution. So when you finish CVQ2, you can get into one of these uh, i- univ- institutions and then enter university. CVQ3 is the equivalent of a associate degree, and CVQ4 is a degree. So
Mhm.
we're also creating that pathway for students who might say, and we're seeing more and more of those where our students
Right.
are choosing the TVET stream because they believe that they want to not do academia in the traditional sense, but they want to start early with practicing their skill and earning for it. And
Right.
so it's our duty to respond to that in the Ministry of Education, which we're doing.
Right. Now, Minister, before I let you go, I know today is a busy day for you. There are several students on here who are looking at you right now from the University of Guyana. And outside of the money set aside to support the University of Guyana's operations, the first phase of the debt forgiveness will start soon. Could you speak to that? I've got a question here from a university student who's asking for persons currently at UG, when will their debt be forgiven and how the process works? They want more information.
So, two things. If there's something you know about the PPP, it is this: we never ever make promises that we don't keep. Never ever. Always, if you look at our promises, we promised to bring goal and do 20,000 students within the first term. We've already done 21,000 and it's only 3 years. We promised to restore the cash grant. We have restored the cash grant and increased the cash grant. We
Mhm.
promised to provide more, better training for teachers and more widespread training. We did that to the point where we graduated our most teachers last year. We promised to provide universal secondary education. We have built and are in the process currently of building out 13 schools. We promised to make sure exercise books, textbooks, and school feeding was done, and all of that is being done. And that's only in the education sector. We promised to revitalize the housing sector. We promised to make sure farmers were getting the kinds of breaks they were getting before we left and more. We promised to give back, restart Gaisuko. We don't make promises we can't keep because we understand something that you, the student, you, the voter, are going to look at us and judge us based on how we performed. We are never going to be the party who rigs an election. We know we have to work for our votes. We know
Right.
we have to win your support. We know we have to win your heart. We have to convince you that we're the better option. So we're always going to be working for you. And we promised something else. We promised that within the first term, the University of Guyana is going to be free. That's part one. And two, we're going to find a pathway to relieve persons of the debt they have already incurred. The first stage of that is beginning to relieve persons of the debt that they have already incurred. The logistics of that, the mechanics of that, we're working out. And as soon as we get there, we'll let you know. But it is happening. And you can judge us on our record of keeping our promises and understand that we are not a reckless, irresponsible government. We know your fees assisted the university with its operational costs. So if we're going to stop your fees, that we have to make sure that operational cost is met
Right.
somehow or the other. So don't
Exactly.
worry about it. The university was started by the father of this nation and the founder of the PPP, Dr. Cde Jagon. It is very precious to us. It is not going to be destroyed. It will only be built. The University of Ghana got $1 billion more this year than they got last year. In the same year that we're relieving the pressure from the university because so many people are choosing so many of the other pathways that are being
Right.
offered. So this narrative that somehow or the other Aubrey like you better than the PPP is foolishness. When the PNC was there, in the last 5 years, in the 5 years that they were in office, they raised your fees by a significant amount. So they can't tell you now that they like you and they love you and they want what's best for you. It is we that have always been investing in the University of Guyana, in the education of our young people, in giving different pathways to our young people. And it's us that will continue doing that.
Right.
I assuring you that the University of Guyana is precious to us. It is going to continue being precious to us. As we speak now, we're building a brand new medical sciences building, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. We are building out a brand new science building. Why would we do that if we were not going to be making sure the university was still standing there for you?
Right.
So your all the promises we made regarding the University of Guyana are going to be kept and joyfully kept by us.
Right. Now, Minister, with your allocation to your ministry, do you believe you're staying the course?
Staying and speeding and so the budget says staying the course. And so the course for us has been a very consistent effort to improve conditions in the schools, improve access, improve quality, and produce overall better students who are able to compete not only in Guyana and the Caribbean, but across the world.
Right.
And we've shown that without these kinds of resources, we were able to bring in large successes in all those areas.
Right.
And so this here is just about managing these resources in a way that makes it more effective for us. And we're very excited to do that. We're not living in a bubble. We understand the challenges we have because we understand the resources, human resources that are available for these projects. We have some kinks in the system that we must talk about.
Right.
The procurement system could take really long, and if it takes long to spend, you know, 30 something billion, it could really struggle. You could really struggle with spending, double that. But what
Right.
we have to do is to make sure not only the Ministry of Education, but the various um, agencies that have to engage with us to make sure these things happen and the spending is done and that it's done transparently and accountably and also speedily, that all of those are working. And so we're ready. Right. In
Great.
fact, I wish we could have just appropriated all of this now and delayed these debates.
Yeah. Minister, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come down here and give the Guyanese public locally and in the diaspora um, uh, somewhat of a breakdown and an in-depth look at what has happened at the ministry, what will be happening at the ministry to continue to move Guyana forward, and to also let people know that indeed there is a plan and reassure them of the promises of the PPP and the PPPC government. They are always kept. Please enjoy the rest of your day. I see in the comments a lot of persons are looking forward to your budget speech. Um, some say always shearing lashes. And I say to them, you only do so when necessary. And especially
Yeah.
when hypocrites stand up in the National Assembly and pretend they don't know or they used to do what this government is doing.
Well, my big thing is anybody who discourages anybody or any language or any kind of position that discourages young people from accessing education must be faced down. It's my duty, human duty, and responsibility to make sure as many people as possible can take themselves to another level individually, and therefore take our country to another level by getting ourselves educated. And so
Right.
we're very, very aggressive when people try to stop the progress through
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. All right, Minister. Thank you. Take care. Have a wonderful day and continue doing you and your ministry the wonderful job that you guys have been doing, ensuring that Guyana's future is secure with our most valuable resource, a human resource.
Yeah.
Take care, Minister.
So I have a good team too. I have an excellent team, actually. Thank you. Have a good day to all your listeners and to yourself.
Yeah, take care. So that was Minister Manik Chan, Minister of Education, giving you and in some details of some of the accomplishments and some of the goals that they are going to accomplish with their allocation for 2024. Please do not forget tomorrow. Today we took a look at education. Tomorrow we'll be having a talk with the Minister of Housing, the Honorable Colin Crowell, and the newly appointed Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Sonia Prague, about their allocations and how they will be functioning in terms of making sure that Guyanese continue to benefit from the plans and policies of the PPPC Irfan Ali-led administration. Now, I've been talking just to get the flyer up. But don't forget today, guys, 2 p.m., the Vice President will be having his press conference, and you guys could tune into that and be updated on things happening. And even I think he should be touching on budget 2024 and some of the allocations there as well. As I was saying before, tomorrow we'll be having Minister Crowell and Minister Prague, Minister of Housing and Water and the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, respectively, on the program to take you through the paces of their allotments to their ministry and how they will continue to better the lives of Guyanese, right? Joel Bagwedin will be on here on Monday. He is a financial analyst, and he will be breaking down the numbers, you guys, especially things like the threshold increase and how it impacts you, and giving you the financial analytical perspective in relation to budget 2024. Right on Tuesday of next week, we'll have the town clerk acting of the Linden municipality to give his take on budget 2024 as well. And we'll be heavily into the debate periods there as well too. So during the week, we should have various ministers and officials coming to give their take and to update you guys on what's going on. It's been wonderful being here with you. Continue to be good Guyanese out there. Watch out for the kids. They're back on the road for school. What was this? Oh, I can play that tomorrow. Until next time, remember it's all about peace, love, one Guyana.
It's your boy Padmore. Unity is the key. We are all one, and we should be treated as one. Our ancestors were slaves and laborers, but the life they endured made it better for us. We honor their sacrifice and the freedom they bought for we. But some descendants of slaves use that to fuel the rich. It doesn't matter what's your skin color, when we bleed blood it's red the same. Let's respect and love one another. When a brother cry we must feel the pain. We're Portuguese, African and Indian. We're Chinese mixed up, we're Amerindians. We're all Guyanese. Let's end this segregation. I'm appealing to Guyanese in the diaspora. We welcome you home. We've got a lot to offer. It's not the same place that you run away from. Come see the paradise Guyana has now become. I'm talking about the